All right, I'm here at Race Tech at one of the seminars with the owner of Race Tech, Paul Thede. So you've started Race Tech in 1984, started the seminars in 1994.
Uh-huh.
What was the original decision behind doing the seminars?
Um, I tell you, to be very frank, I was kind of tired of doing it the way that I'd been doing it, and I really was kind of competing against the rest of the world, and the more notoriety I got, the more that people would take my stuff and take it apart and go, oh, that's what to do, and like I said, I was just tired of doing my business that way, and I wanted to figure out a way that I could work with people instead of against them. And actually, my wife and another friend of mine had come to me and said, have you ever thought about teaching the secrets? And initially, my reaction was like, that is ridiculous. Let me go ask my friends, and they all thought it was a ridiculous idea, so then I decided to do it. And I had actually made the gold valve, and the idea behind the gold valve was a kind of a similar question too. It's like, because the gold valve is kind of valving in a box. And so you could buy a gold valve kit, and you could either have your local guy install it, or you could install it, or what have you. And as long as I supported you and told you exactly what to put in there, and told you how to set up the springs and oil level, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you could have a setup. And we could set stuff up anywhere in the world, as opposed to just, send it into me in Southern California here. And the question was, hey, do I just have people send in for a gold valve and us install it, or do I put it into a kit form that I can send out to other people? And the neat thing about having it as a kit, now I have the opportunity and to be able to work with other people. And so that was the same kind of idea as far as the seminars are concerned. What if I teach people the secrets instead of just, kind of keeping them to myself? And the more you know, I think the more that you appreciate our products. Obviously, the end result is the products have to work. You have to be able to ride the bike and go, ooh, I like that. But I really think that the more that you know, the more that you'll spend the money to buy our oil, or spend the money for our springs, or put a gold valve instead of just working with the stock pistons. And so with the seminars, basically went into it with the attitude of, hey, what do people want to hear? What do they want to learn? And I'll teach them everything. Outside of very, very few questions, I will answer almost anything.
The students here range from what they're looking for out of the school. Like, obviously, I'm here because I want to understand what I'm feeling when I'm riding a little bit more, but I also want to write a story about the school. There's guys here that are going to go to work for you, like Brandon Scharer. There's guys here that have their own suspension businesses and are taking your knowledge, and hopefully that will help them improve their business. And then other guys open up race tech service centers throughout the country and use your knowledge. And yeah, I think it's really cool that you're willing to share that with a wide range of students. And obviously you would hope that they would use your products because they do work.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they at least try our products, and certainly they discover the value of using our products. My goal is to help them be successful at what they're doing. I also realize that some people will not use our products, and they're just here to learn whatever they can learn, and that's okay. And at the same time, I hope that they'll try the products and at least kind of hear the value of working kind of with us as opposed to against us. And I really don't work against anybody, but what I would say is the value of working with us. I think that there's a lot of value, and I mean, certainly if you just look at it, I have tens of thousands of motorcycles that we have settings for, so they can have somebody walk in with a motorcycle they've never seen in their life, and they don't have to just start the testing process from scratch. They can be very, very confident that what we are giving them is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, that's cool. You talked about the tens of thousands of motorcycles that you have information on. And you don't even have to come to the school. If it's you can go to your website. There's so much information on your website that just the average person can look at that would help them in their own right. And they might not spend a dime with you, but you offer that information anyway.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'd rather have people put the right springs in with the right preload. I'd rather have people's stuff work as opposed to not work. Again, whether they're spending money with me or not, I have a firm belief that what goes around comes around. And I don't have any problem sharing a lot of that kind of stuff that'll help them set up their bikes and make their life better, whether they're spending money with me or not.
Yeah, I love the attitude towards it. I really do. It's not common. I think it's really great. What would you tell somebody that's considering coming to the school? You know, I've got a buddy that's been thinking about it for a couple of years. You know, what advice would you give them to make the decision to come?
Well, I'm kind of got a biased opinion on that one,
Sure.
but you know, it's the kind of thing where I promise that anybody, no matter what their level is, whether they're a beginner, whether they're a kid's dads, you know, just trying to figure it out, or they want to do some stuff for their neighbors or themselves, or you know, they want to work on bicycles, or they want to, I mean, pretty much anything besides go-karts. You know, so anything with suspension on it, it's like, hey, my goal is to have it be valuable for them. And so it's kind of like, okay, you could wait. That's up to you. But, you know, on the other hand, you know, give it a go and see what you learn. And, you know, certainly I've written a book a number of years back, which there was really nothing out there. And so I wrote a book with Lee Parks, and Lee just kept bugging me and said, you got to write a book, got to write a book. And so we wrote a book, which is great, but the amount of depth that we get into in a seminar is far, far, far greater than any book that I could possibly write. I mean, we're talking about, you know, 2 days for the theory class, 2 days for shop skills. Right now we've got a dyno class on Wednesday, and then we've got an advanced seminar on Thursday, Friday, and then, by the way, Saturday, Sunday we have an engine seminar. You know, and so there's no possible way that any book that I wrote could cover everything. And technology also changes. You know, so anything that I've covered in that book, there are things that are not in that book. But anyway, what would I tell them? I tell them, hey, I'd like to meet you. Come check it out. I promise it'll be worth your while. And frankly, whether you're into suspension or not, hopefully you'll have some fun.
Well, Paul, so far in the first 2 days, I've had a lot of fun in this class, even though I said some of it has been a little bit over my head. I've been enjoying it. The stories are good. We're not going to tell any of the stories on here, because if you want to hear the stories, you need to come to the class. But there's been a lot of laughs, a lot of being learned, and I think everybody's having a good time. So, yeah, I appreciate you having Vital MX out for this.
You know, I appreciate you coming, and certainly being able to expose more people to what we do, and really the philosophy of what we do is, I think it's really, I really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Wyatt Scott, we're here at Race Tech, day 3 of the seminar.
Yep.
You were the shop manager, R&D support, probably team manager. You have a lot of titles we've been talking about.
Yep.
You've been in here today in the shop skills class.
Yep.
But yeah, just talk about, how long have you been at Race Tech?
I've been at Race Tech for about 10.5 years now, so
Yeah,
going on quite
and
a
from
while.
our conversations, you're very knowledgeable. How much knowledge did you have when you came to work at Race Tech?
Pretty much none. So I actually showed up, had some previous motorcycle training, came here, no suspension background at all. I'd done a couple of my own fork seals, kinda, I know at this point. I wish I would have known better. And then I actually came paid for the seminar and sat through it on my own knowledge, and my goal at the time was to work for a privateer rider and kind of work my way as a mechanic in the industry. Just wanted to know more about suspension, and kind of liked the place, and kept seeing Rob out at the tracks when I was trying to bug every rider under the moon that they needed a new mechanic, and just kept seeing Rob, kept bugging him, and after about 6 or 8 weeks, he called me in and offered me a job. So,
How much of the information did you retain after the first time, and how many times have you sat through the class since?
So yeah, first time through, it's pretty overwhelming, pretty quick. A lot of it is because it's not anything a lot of people have really heard before. It's kind of, you know, regarded as a black magic in our industry for the most part, where here we just tell it how it is. So when I sat through it the first time, a lot of it was I didn't understand what the components were, what they were called, a lot of just basic knowledge that I didn't have. So it was really hard to retain a lot of the information. And after being here about 6 months or so, we had another seminar. That's back when we were doing twice a year. And that time through, it was like light bulbs. Just everything was clicking. And at this point, I've taught, I think, 10 or 11 of them as far as the shop skill portion of it. And every time I sit through it, man, I'm learning something, or something clicks, or I hear something a different way, or it gets asked differently and it gets explained differently. And it's constant learning. There's never something you can't learn, for sure.
I guess my last question for you is, what sets Race Tech apart from the competition?
I think for us, we're just constantly trying to innovate and develop our own stuff. you know, when a new component comes out, which unfortunately hasn't been for a while, we've been kind of stuck on the same stuff for a while, but we're always just trying to get better, whether it's data acquisition, dyno and stuff, trackside testing, whatever it is. We're always trying to make the product better, and just knowing that we're not really just guessing at things. We usually are pretty data driven, and it has to make sense numbers wise before we just go take shots at it. And just constantly improving. We try to put out the best product we can, and that's kind of it. Yeah.
All right, Brandon Scharer, former professional Supercross motocross rider. You're attending the Race Tech seminar with me because you're going to work for Race Tech.
Yeah.
What brought this on? What made you decide to step away from racing and come to work at Race Tech?
Actually, I knew I was getting to the end of my racing, so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And with that, I went into a couple different job fields. To be honest, I went into just trying to be a regular mechanic and seeing what that was all about. Obviously, I've been fairly mechanically inclined over my career, so very luckily, kind of have a couple options there. But yeah, I went into that a little bit, was a mechanic, and was still kind of having my feelers out there, talked to checkers a whole bunch, and that kind of turned me over into Rob again, and everyone kind of came back around. So it just seemed like a perfect fit. Came back to Race Tech, and I knew if I wanted to learn suspension, this is probably the place to be. I know they go into detail with learning, and it's definitely a good place for me.
Now, you've had some experience working with Race Tech and Paul and the guys. Talk about that. How long have you been involved with them over how many years have they helped you during your career?
Yeah, so from amateurs all the way into my pros, I worked for them about 15 years and learned all about testing with Rob, Wyatt, AJ, plenty of people over the years. Pretty much everything I know with bike testing, I've learned here through Rob and everyone else. And then even with some engine stuff, Andrew was pretty new at the time, but I learned through Andrew and a little bit about like ignition mapping and like cam timing and just changing things, and obviously with the valves and all that. So yeah, everything got to learn a whole bunch through here.
With your experience, I'm sure a lot of what they're talking about in the seminar, and you've already been working here for a little bit and kind of working the shop with the guys, so I'm sure you're relating it to some of the things you've felt in the past and things you've tested. Yeah. And you're kind of going, oh yeah, you understand it a little bit better than maybe the average guy. Yeah,
for sure. A lot of it is. It's coming to me as a rider. A lot of the stuff I'm like, all right, he says, the bleed is going to do this. I'm like, all right, I know what that feels like. I know the soft feel, if it kind of, I don't want to say blows through, but like if it moves through easily, I'm like, all right, that's what it feels like. And now that we're learning about it and the shim stacks and everything like that, I'm like, okay, like this fully makes sense. And then, and that kind of goes to the side of like, makes me really realize how far in depth everyone is with this and how minimal of changes you can have and make massive changes at the end of the day. So it's really, really cool. And yeah, I've only been here for 2 weeks learning, but as we go through this seminar, there is a lot of things I'm like, okay, I learned this and I've learned this and this makes sense now. And no, it's definitely coming around for sure.
I kind of asked you in the last couple of days just talking about the fact that, hey, you'll also have the opportunity probably to actually go out in the field and do some testing at some point because of your ability and the feedback that you can give. Is that something you're looking forward to? Yeah,
for sure. I always enjoyed testing, to be honest, like with really anything, like whether it was someone giving me levers or a clutch or anything in the motor. I enjoy testing because I like searching for those things and trying to test myself in a way. But yeah, with the suspension, I'm excited to actually, in a way, build some of my own. I might actually build it myself, so we'll see. But build it, test it, and see exactly what it does, and then give my feedback because, I guess at this point I am pretty far advanced with riding and everything like that. So, yeah, I'm excited for it.
Again, you race professionally.
Yep.
You were a trainer. You worked at Club MX. You had a long career in the sport. Is there any part of you that kind of is disappointed that the racing part is kind of over? You may hit some races here and there, but for the most part, the full-time racing's done.
Yeah, for sure. Like anybody, you always want more, right? I'm very, very happy and fortunate to have made it as far as I did with injuries and everything along the way. It could have ended at any point. But I'm very, very fortunate to have made it as far as I did. And I ticked off most all boxes I ever wanted to get to. And this year was a big, big step for that. I took my couple of years away, realistically, came back to pro racing, and I skipped 19, 20, 21. I think I stepped in the end of 21 with the club. So I did a little bit of 21, and then 22, I started coming back a little bit. And then 23 year, this year, I came back on my own. I had a lot of input from people at club and just people all around, and kind of gave me that idea to come back and give it a go. And got that fill-in ride this year for Supercross and rode lights, and that was for me like the dream come true. And yeah, for sure. Then that really ticked off all the boxes. So then after, the rough year kind of had this year, after break my arm twice and going through all that, and now that I'm having a family and stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's. I'm good. I'm good to check it off. And I was like, well, all right, now what am I gonna do for life? And I was like, if I could stay within the industry that's really brought me here, my whole life in this industry, I think it'd be pretty cool, rather than just going and being a lineman, where that's kind of always on the table in a way. So, yeah, I'm excited to be within the industry.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about this seminar and what I'm learning about race tech is, since you've made that decision to make this your career path, they're very willing to give you the information. The website, the guys that work here, they're very willing to share the secrets and teach you what you need to know so you can be successful.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I think that's one of the main reasons why, on top of them all knowing me, I know all them. It was a really, really good fit when I was like, all right, I need to learn suspension. It's not that I know it. I don't know anything about internals. Really, everywhere I've tested with, I've always asked them, like, hey, like, what does this do inside? Or what are we actually doing? And no one really tells you. They're always like, it's a slight change. And, like, Rob would always test me. He's like, oh, it's minimal. It could have been a valve change for all I knew. But he's like, oh, it's minimal. And he's like, just go ride and tell me what you feel. No one ever went into detail like, hey, we're doing this change, and go feel it. It was always like, you ride it and don't deal with the internals. And so obviously I went through motors, I went through everything else along with the bikes and chassis and everything like that. So to work with suspension now is like the last final thing on working with bikes. So I'm very excited to be finding the sciences of it. And like I said, they here at Race Tech, they break it down very, very tight. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome, Brandon. Hey, man, appreciate your time. And, yeah, it's been fun going through the school with you.
Yeah, thank you.